Story number 1, The Basement. I've always been a Halloween junkie, so when The Descent opened in my town, advertising itself as the most extreme haunted house experience ever, I was thrilled. Set in an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town, it promised to push the boundaries of fear. I convinced my friends Jack and Lisa to join me, despite their reservations. The first 2 floors were impressively scary top-notch effects, incredible actors, and an atmosphere so thick with dread you could cut it with a knife. But it was when we reached the basement that things took a turn I'll never forget. Our group of 10 was led by an actor playing a paranormal investigator. As we descended the creaky stairs, the temperature dropped noticeably. Our guide's flashlight flickered, and he frowned, muttering, "That's weird, we just changed the batteries." Suddenly, he froze, his face a mask of genuine terror. "Wait," he whispered, "this isn't part of the script." The lights went out. In the pitch blackness, chaos erupted. People were screaming, pushing, trying to find a way out. When emergency lights finally flickered on, our guide was gone. At first, we thought it was an elaborate part of the show, but the fear in everyone's eyes told a different story. As we tried to retrace our steps, we got separated. Jack, Lisa, and I found ourselves in a hidden corridor. The walls were covered with old photos and newspaper clippings, missing persons reports from our area, all within the last year. Some faces looked eerily familiar. A blood-curdling scream echoed through the halls. We ran towards it, only to find ourselves in a room that looked like a makeshift morgue. Body bags lined the walls, and a terrible stench filled the air. Lisa started hyperventilating, insisting she saw one of the bags move. We finally found an emergency exit and burst out into the cool night air. The police arrived, but their search turned up nothing concrete. They found no evidence of the morgue room or the missing persons wall. The attraction was shut down indefinitely. In the weeks that followed, I couldn't shake off what I'd seen. I started researching the warehouse's history and the missing persons cases. What I uncovered sent chills down my spine. The warehouse had once belonged to a serial killer who was never caught. And the missing persons? They all visited The Descent before disappearing. To this day, I wonder about what really happened in that basement, and whether the horrors we witnessed were more real than anyone dared to admit. Story number 2, The Doppelganger. Last October, my girlfriend Amy and I decided to visit Nightmare Manor, a haunted house attraction that had been the talk of the town. Amy was hesitant, but I assured her it would be fun. If only I had known what was waiting for us inside. The first part of the attraction was standard fare: creepy dolls, zombie actors, and strobe lights. But then we entered a room that seemed to stretch endlessly, filled with mirrors. The effect was dizzying, and within moments, I lost sight of Amy. "Amy?" I called out, my voice echoing in the maze. No response. I turned a corner and saw her reflection in one of the mirrors. She was standing still, staring at me with a blank expression. Relief washed over me, but it was short-lived. As I approached, something felt off. Her reflection didn't move. I waved, but the Amy in the mirror remained motionless. My heart racing, I reached out to touch the mirror and my hand went right through it. I yanked my hand back, my mind reeling. That's when I heard Amy's voice behind me, "There you are. I've been looking everywhere for you." I turned to see the real Amy, looking confused at my terrified expression. We left the attraction immediately, but our ordeal wasn't over. In the weeks that followed, strange things began to happen. Amy would catch glimpses of her reflection moving independently in mirrors or windows. Sometimes, she'd see it smiling at her when she wasn't smiling. One night, I woke up to find Amy's side of the bed empty. I found her in the bathroom, staring at her reflection in the mirror. But when I looked, I saw no reflection at all. Amy turned to me, her eyes wide with fear. "It's gone. My reflection is gone." We called in paranormal experts, who suggested that something in the mirror maze had opened a door between our world and another. They performed cleansing rituals, but the incidents continued. Months later, we thought it was finally over. But one evening, I came home to find two Amys in our living room. One was unconscious on the floor, the other standing over her with a wicked grin. To this day, I'm not sure if the Amy I'm with is the real one or if something else came back with us from Nightmare Manor. Story number 3, the VR experience. When Haunted Reality opened in my city, promising a revolutionary VR haunted house experience, I was skeptical but intrigued. As a tech enthusiast and horror aficionado, I couldn't resist giving it a try. The premise was simple. Don the latest VR headset, explore a virtual haunted mansion, and survive the night. The waiver I had to sign should have been my first clue that this was no ordinary experience. As soon as the headset came on, I was blown away. The graphics were indistinguishable from reality. I found myself in a decrepit Victorian mansion, with peeling wallpaper and creaking floorboards. The attention to detail was incredible. I could smell the musty air and feel the temperature drop as I moved from room to room. The first hour was intense but manageable. Ghostly apparitions, moving objects, and spine-chilling sounds kept me on edge. But then things took a turn. The mansion started to change, shifting in impossible ways. Rooms rearranged themselves, and I started seeing glitches, moments where the virtual environment seemed to tear, revealing glimpses of what looked like real rooms underneath. Unnerved, I tried to remove the headset, but it wouldn't budge. The virtual world began to fade away, replaced by a tangible, physical environment. I could feel the rotting floorboards beneath my feet, smell the decay in the air. Somehow, impossibly, I was really there. Panic set in as I heard footsteps approaching. I ran through the house, no longer sure if I was fleeing virtual or real dangers. The walls seemed to bleed, and whispers echoed through the halls. As I rounded a corner, I came face to face with a figure half decayed, eyes glowing with an unearthly light. It reached for me with rotting hands. Just as its cold fingers brushed my skin, I managed to tear off the headset. I was back in the VR room, drenched in sweat and shaking uncontrollably. The staff rushed in, saying I had been screaming for the past 5 minutes. According to them, I had only been in the simulation for 15 minutes, but it felt like hours. In the days that followed, I couldn't shake the experience. I had vivid nightmares and often felt like I was being watched. Research led me to a chilling discovery. Haunted Reality was built on the site of an old mansion with a dark history, demolished years ago. Some nights, I still wake up feeling like I'm back in that house. And sometimes, when I look in the mirror, I swear I can see that decaying figure standing behind me, its eyes glowing in the darkness. I'm left wondering if I accidentally tapped into something that day, something ancient, malevolent, and very, very real.